first up, I believe, is the Snow White thing
We're here to
has
trash.
just been shot in the head by Jason Statham. Is the most recent news I saw about this.
Mr. Brown messaged me and said that movie was good. The Jason
well,
Statham one.
Let's put it this way: it's entertaining, but it wasn't as good as The Beekeeper. If you can,
I
see
can't
that,
believe
that
anyone
level.
would say that was good.
Well, I did.
All right,
it isn't as good as The Beekeeper.
Well, that's based on the Chuck Dixon novel, I believe. So good for him. Good for him. I'm glad to see him get some dues.
Is The Beekeeper where he was a professional beekeeper spy, and then he retires and becomes a literal beekeeper?
Yes, that's the one. That's how stupid it was, but it was a lot of fun though because he killed everybody, so that was really cool. So, but yeah, this one's not very good.
There's all kinds of news surrounding Snow White though, because it just never stops when it comes to this movie. But you know, it bombed at the box office, as everyone knew, through opening weekend, but its second weekend was an absolute collapse. It's doing very poorly. And I wanted to throw this in here too for the screenshot because I had my pick. And I thought this was great because it's from the New York Times, actually reported that Snow White had a $350 million budget. So that's 80 million more than was previously reported. So you can imagine how much it actually was.
Wow.
I would imagine more like 500 million, but
yeah.
Yeah, because I mean they're probably still not accounting for marketing, not accounting for the theater take and all the rest of that stuff. It's like, I always like though when out there like the New York Times says more than was previously reported. So previously reported by whom? Other people who don't know what they're talking about? Because like most people on YouTube know how this works. You'd think it would have bled through into the mainstream media by now that whenever they give you the budget, you add at least half on top of that, if not double it.
Over here, right? They're advertising on the radio, and it says it's the world's #1 film.
It is, literally. But who cares if you're number one? If you made like $1 and the other movies made $0, you're okay. You're number one. You're the #1 piece of shit. Good job.
Well, they're not. Yeah, they're not competing against anything, and they're still bombing.
Yeah,
I think there was like close to a 70% drop after this weekend. I saw it on Friday because I love the chat. You guys decided to punish me and pay for me to go, and I literally wanted to walk out within 5 minutes. Like there was so much singing, it was just I wanted to throw up right there. It was just like, and I was by myself, there was no one in the theater, and I'm like, how, like this is not good. And it's like really stiff, the dialogue stiff, everything about it is like off. This is a huge collapse.
It's the kind of thing you can see why it collapsed, right? Which is, I mean, the 70% figure is a really significant one because it opened to a relatively low number. It's fair enough. If it had opened to a huge box office take on the opening weekend, you'd kind of expect a fairly chunky drop off just because it's hard to maintain that. But if you open and you've earned like $5 and you get a 70% drop, that's awful because it kind of means that of all the cinemas, all the theaters, everywhere in the United States of America, most of the viewers are Rachel Ziegler and a couple of friends that she dragged to see her own movie. So they could just fucking scream at the screen, which was one of the very embarrassing clips that came out last week of her and her friends.
Well, let me ask you a question, right? Do you think the why it flopped was because of the actual movie itself or because of the whole thing surrounding it, the whole controversy thing surrounding it?
Reasons, I think.
You reckon?
It's got to be both, right? I mean, because you would expect most normal people not to be quite as tuned up as we are with the many crimes of Rachel Ziegler. But then when they actually did go and see the film, it's awful. So you can discount all the shit that she said and all the controversy surrounding it. But as Goosh said, like within 5 minutes, you know that you're watching a pile of complete arse gravy. And it's just like, it's awful. It's just so bad. It's soulless and irritating, and the acting is awful, and the songs are bad, and it looks like garbage. And it's just, why would you take your kids back to see this movie? So between the two of those reasons.
Well, here's the thing. Like, as much as, people can sit there and say, oh, people are going to go see Minecraft. People are going to go see Snow White. And I'm telling them, no, they're not, because us YouTubers have become the media now. People actually rely on our takes. and you're seeing more and more people saying, I'm not going to go see that because I heard Gary say it's bad, or Platoon, or Cynic, or someone talked about it and saying it's not worth it. That's where they're getting the reviews now. They're not trusting, you know, your main media. They're trusting us more. And,
well, and
it's funny when you talk to young kids, like 20-year-olds, they're saying, no, I'm not going to see that, because on YouTube or on TikTok or wherever they're getting their, you know, social media, they're saying, I saw someone talk about this and it sounds really gay and I'm not going to go see it.
Well, very often, I'd say most of the time, it's funny being in this niche now and participating in it, because most often what we're talking about, we are right, and the legacy media is completely wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It happens. It's almost like a weekly basis, especially when it's summer movie season, or even right now, like what happened with Captain America 4. The budget's been completely misrepresented by the mainstream media. And right before it came out, everyone was saying that it was getting glowing reviews. And we were like, first of all, the budget is at least twice as much as that. And it's going to get terrible reviews because this movie has shown itself that there's no chance in hell it's going to be good. And then rest assured, that's exactly what happened. Then it happened again with Snow White. And now it's happening with the Minecraft movie, which we'll get to. It's happening over and over and over again. So it makes sense that they'd trust people like us over the New York fucking Times, which I'm sure this is a misrepresentation of the budget again, because we're pretty sure it's higher than that.
Although it is worth saying that even the mainstream media shat on this movie, which was quite a remarkable turn of events.
Amazing, right?
Normally they can be relied upon to pick up even a piece of shit. Like give it at least an IGN 7. But this one, I mean, with the usual qualifier being that Rotten Tomatoes is completely fucking useless, it's still kind of interesting to note what the disparity is and where the critics in particular stand. And I think the tomato meter, the critics section on that, is only at 40%, which means that the movie is close to a 1 or a 2% in actual quality terms. And bizarrely, the audience score is higher than that. But as everybody knows, the audience score is only calculated by the number of people who rate it above a 5, isn't it? And it turns into positive. So lots of people could have come away from it thinking, well, I was high, so, you know, I had a good time.
Decided.
So it was fine.
Well, here's the thing too, and people forget. 2 weeks ago, how many critics came out and raved about Snow White, saying, "Oh, Ziegler is the main star. Her singing is so great. Everything about this movie, the dwarves are maybe a little bit off, but it's a good way to represent the old 1930, was it 1938, 39 classic, 37 of Snow White. They did a really good job. It was like a 6 or 7 out of 10. Like they came out and started saying these things, and they're shills, obviously getting paid to say this thing, or bots, but people, it's the election proved it. Look, that big sea of red said people are tired of being lied to, and they're going to media, the real media. Well, not the real media, but they're going to people like us that are just normal people and listening to us talk about these things, and that's where they're getting their news and their pop culture feed. So,
well,
I just want to
have
mention
nothing to lose, do we? When we review, we're not being paid. Just say what's what we see. So
just for the sake of being accurate, so the movie dropped 66% from its opening weekend of 42.2 million down to 14.2 million. And again, to kind of go with what Lil Platoon was saying, that doesn't seem like the worst drop ever until you recognize that it's falling that much from 42 million. It's not 357 million like Avengers Endgame was, and it still made like $150 million its second weekend. You're falling from grace here. Well, not even from that high, actually. But and to answer the question that we popped up in the thing, I asked Chat GPT. Chat says that 40% is the typical decline from week 1 to week 2. So not only did it fall 66% from $42 million, like that's just an abysmal drop. So
wow,
yeah, not looking too good for this one.
No.
So how much is it going to lose, do you think? Like,
a crap load.
Yeah, a crap load. Someone in the chat said a cool $500 million.
Wow.
Probably. Yeah.
That's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Didn't one of the executives, he had to fly out and shout at Rachel Zegler?
Yeah.
That was in the news too.
Yeah, so this is it was the producer, wasn't it? The producer had to go in and reprimand her, and then allegedly her social media from that point onwards was being vetted, but she was kind of refusing to go along with it. But that news sort of resurfaced when the producer's son on Instagram decided that he would kind of admirably tell something approaching the truth. And you know things are bad when Hollywood people start telling the truth. But because some person on Instagram who evidently was like a Ziegler fan, because those people do exist, had said how weird it was that like he was told off for supporting Palestine basically, and he said no. My dad, the producer in the movie, he had to go and tell a grown-up, an adult, a 20-year-old who had dragged her controversial politics into a marketing campaign she was paid to do to promote a movie that thousands of people had worked on and the entire financial fortunes of an entire company was based on, that she could not drag the reputation of this entire project down out of her narcissism and her vanity. And the word narcissism was used by the producer's son. He said that we shouldn't coddle this sort of thing. And it's like, this is great. And if someone had told Rachel Ziegler this when she was 10, she might have emerged as a better human being. But it's a little bit late for that now.
Yeah, but I get the feeling that they're only doing it now because of the huge flop of the film. Why didn't they do it earlier, before the film was released? Why didn't they stop her?
Her career is basically over with. She's got no more future potential, so they're just going, you know what, Rachel, go fuck yourself. Let's just reveal how horrible you are. Your box office poison.
This is the Gina Carano effect, because they did what they did to Gina, and she didn't even do anything even remotely close to what Ziegler did. So they thought, oh, we'll let her have free speech here because we're in this lawsuit with Gina Carano and being backed by Elon Musk. So we got to kind of change the way we go about this. Well, that backfired on them big time, because, yeah, they went and got a social media guru for Ziegler, and she still said stupid shit. She wiped out more than half your audience by saying, I hope all you Trump voters I
never know peace or something like
that.
that.
Never know peace like that. That's smart. That is really smart. Like, wipe out like over half your audience right there, who are probably would want to go see it because they're very family oriented. Like so
that's a good point.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous what Disney's doing, and I hope Gina goes through with all of it. I think she is, because like this is not going to be good it's not good for Disney at all. Disney's like really suffering right now. I think all the studios are actually suffering, but
yeah.
Well, Rachel's biggest mistake was not being a box office success, because Pedro Pascal had actually said stupid shit like that. Didn't he call like Trump voters
Mark
Nazis?
Ruffalo, same thing.
Yeah,
all of them.
But they're established. One's Hulk, one's a fucking Mexican Joel.
So, one is everyone, right? Is anyone who's not played by Pedro Pascal?
Yeah.
He's Latino version of everyone.
I guarantee you that will all be brought up when that goes into any kind of court proceedings with Gina Carano. Like it's going to get ugly. I think it's going to get a lot uglier for Disney.
I think that was because those names were mentioned because of like the number of tweets they put out, and I vaguely remember hearing that was it Pedro Pascal had sort of come out in support of Ziegler over the last week. I've not read the comments, so I don't know.
Icon, called her an icon. Pedro's
what?
They called her an icon. Yeah,
I mean she's an icon. She's an icon of something, but an icon isn't necessarily good.
Yeah.
You know, Hitler was an icon of the Nazi Party, kind of thing. It's not a signifier of quality.
God,
it's a shame, really, right? Because you know, this could have been a really good film if they just stuck to the plan and stuck with the story that was already there. But they had to put their politics into it.
Everything was completely different.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I heard that Gal Gadot, as I call her, is really terrible in this movie. My sister
she's so bad, dude.
They said that she was so bad that they were laughing.
Well, that's the thing, because she's so bad that she's the best thing in the movie. Because every one of her scenes is hilarious, and you kind of there's a weird joy you get from watching her trying to be a person, and like you can't say that of anybody else. So like the highlight of the movie for me is Gal Gadot. He's awful, but it's really fun to watch.
Oh, dear.
I'm sorry, but like, what is that? The captain of the thieves, or the
not prince?
Yeah, him. Yeah, Prince of the him and the guy from Wicked. I don't know. You get the gayest guys to play these lead roles, and I'm just sitting there going, he doesn't want to kiss a girl. What are you like? Who are you trying to kid here?
This is the thing that's going through movies now, isn't it?
Yeah.
That they're not giving us, real, as I say, real men. I mean, even look at the new Superman. He looks a bit soft as well. Doesn't he hasn't got the Henry Cavill or the Chris Reeves look about him. He just looks weird, as far as I'm concerned. That's what's going through our movies now. Sorry, say again.
I think it's the outfit that was picked for him. It makes him look like Play-Doh.
Yeah, I think it's just proportions on him. Like, he's a tall guy. I think I believe he's a really big guy, but Superman has to have that big chest, and I've said this a million times, but he has to have that big, like Henry Cavill had that big chest.
Yeah,
like
he
was top heavy. He looked like Superman. He looked like he could go through a wall. Like Corn Sweat looks he looks like a big guy, but that outfit doesn't look good on him, and he just kind of has like a long neck. He looks, I don't know, it looks awkward and lanky. He doesn't look
Platoon
like
said that watching wrestling's gay, but this sounds pretty gay to me. What you guys need in a man. So.
Yeah. I need a man with a big chest. Yeah, thank you.
It's just Superman, isn't it? I mean, look, I'm a older gentleman, and I remember Superman when I was a kid, the 70s Superman, and he looked like Superman, looked like Chris Reeves. Do you know what I mean? And then Henry Cavill was close, but then this new guy, Mr. Cornball, whatever his name is, he doesn't look like Superman at all, as far as I'm concerned. He just looks weird. The costume doesn't help either. He just looks awful in the costume. So I don't know what's going on with Hollywood. Well, I do really, but we all know that.
Yep.
Do we so what do we suspect the third week drop? But when it actually has a movie to compete with, Minecraft, for example, which I imagine I suspect will
targeting
do
similar audience,
of money, similar audience, which is just any audience at all. Well, like, it's the only way around it is like maybe some people will go and see Minecraft and think, well, we're already here, so we might as well go and see the other one. But I don't see that outweighing the number of people who are going to go and pick one, not the other. Will anyone see this in its third weekend at all?
Doesn't look like
how bad is Minecraft?
It's meant to be really bad.
It looks bad in the trailers.
Looks horrible.
Shocking.
And it's getting good reviews, so that means it's going to come. But of course, there's a review embargo, except for like you can post it on Twitter and socials, your very short blurb of a review. But the true reviews can't come out until Thursday, so that means it's probably gonna debut with like a 40% rating on Rotten Tomatoes or something from critics. I would imagine. So in the third week is when they start shedding screens too. So I would imagine probably between a 50 and 60% drop next weekend for Snow White, even with Minecraft coming out, which probably isn't going to do stellar numbers here